morning and welcome to Workforce Observer. Today I am joined by Joel Leege, a seasoned executive who's worked at some of the world's largest staffing and talent solution firms. Formerly Chief Strategy Officer at Randstad Digital and now President and COO at Red Oak Technology. Joel brings a unique perspective on scaling teams, leading transformation, and navigating the evolving talent landscape. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you, Sandra. Nice to be here.
People are calling the market flat. From your perspective, what are the undercurrents? Is there anything that people are overlooking, like surprising trends shaping the IT staffing landscape right now?
Yeah, I think that it is a mixed bag for I think I would say for competitors and peers of mine as well. I think that we kind of got through the phase where people said that firms were overhiring in 21 and 22, and there was somewhat of a trim back from that. And then certainly I think the message has been AI, right? Of AI might be lessening certain needs for skill sets. Not necessarily seeing that on a lot of fronts that we're going through. I think it is very much around how can we do more with less. I think that continues to be a challenge. I do see that there are opportunities to grow. I think a good way of saying this is if we're really leveraging AI, and I heard this from an IT leader recently, if we're really leveraging AI and we're able to do more projects because we could use Gen AI tools for coding and doing more coding, let's say 30-40% more coding with the developer talent that we have, then we would have the option to say, do I want to do more projects and get my product done faster, or do I want to stay at the same and do it with less people? His comment was, I really see most companies saying, I want to do more projects. I want to get more done faster to evolve and change and put either more products out on the market or services out on the market. So this concept of I have AI, but it's going to lessen the need for actual workforce. The comment he made was it's actually going to probably need more project managers, business analysts, systems architects. So while I think there's been a malaise in the market, I'm not sure how much of that is AI related as much as people like confidence in where the markets have going.
Sure.
And I think regardless over the last 2.5, 3 years, there's been this, well, maybe next quarter, well, maybe two
Yeah.
quarters from now.
Yeah.
And I think all of those tie into businesses being cautious and not wanting to get into a situation like 21 and 22 again of overhiring. At least that's my take.
I'm hearing some of that as well. So you're the kind of on the front lines. What do clients really want from partners like you? And has I guess their definition of value shifted?
Yes, I think that one, they want transparency in what you can provide and what you can do really well. I
Okay.
think the days of I can do everything for everybody and be everything for everybody from a talent solutions perspective is much more challenging to get a customer to say, great, yes, we'll give you everything on our talent stack, soup to nuts, and we're going to hand it over to you and let you do that. I think they look for specialty over generalist. And I do think that you hit a nail on the head. What value? They're looking for additional value. Value added services. I think that there was probably a time when I started 28 years ago in the industry where there was probably a great divide between true services, SOW, milestone, deliverable based work, and what people would call staff augmentation.
Hmm.
I would say that divide has come together very nicely over the last 28 years, and now there are smaller firms that will deliver services, MSPs, outsourced work that customers in the past might not have relied on them to do. They would have gone to the larger firms to do. So I do think that they're saying, what else can you do for us? And to that point, what are the bleeding edge technologies? And do you have talent around that? That's why I think there's going to be continued talent gaps around AI, ML, I do believe even semiconductor, RF engineering, ASIC design. A lot of these more IoT skill sets that are hard to fill now are even going to be harder.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I mean, you've gone from working in really large companies, Randstad Digital, K-Force, to now leading Red Oak Technologies. Has your approach to staffing evolved across these environments, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think that when you're with the firm, um, you always look for where are my strengths and how can I add more value to the customer. I do think that and it's not that you just have to change your pros and cons of what you can do. I think that the evolution for me is that, the relationship has been the same, right? I've been in this industry for 28 years. I think the relationships with the customer are still probably the most important, because you're building on that foundation of trust, trusting that you can deliver, whether it's a project or service or talent, that you can deliver and do it well. That piece is still, regardless of whether it was one of the big companies or a more boutique firm, that piece is what the business is built on. I
Right.
think for us personally, as a boutique, it's the ability to be flexible and be able to move very quickly. So be able to decide for a customer, we're going to do something. We're in 5 countries and 20 other states in the United States. There are certain skill sets that we can deliver, or services we can deliver. Let's decide on the fly if there's something quick that we can do with a customer. We can do that quick. Generating an MSA, signing an MSA. I've been in organizations where that was a great challenge, right? There were many levels of approvals that I had to go to, and that I would tell you, we're typically able to go through. If there are red lines, we'll make them within the same day and get them back to the customer. And that's trying to be easy to do business with. So I think that from that perspective, I do think that that's changed over time. Is that you want to be as easy to do business with the customer. It doesn't mean that you have to capitulate on all of the terms and conditions in an agreement, but I do think that it should be a win-win, right? They should engage with you and see you as a partner. And I think that's the piece of what we hope 2025 and beyond is
Right.
that the clients that are our ideal client profile are companies that really do see you as a partner. They want to bring you in. And I think on the talent side, that's huge. Right? I've seen firms that have done it really well, right? Whether that is monthly, usually it's quarterly. They might have quarterly summits with their partners. Tell them their technology roadmap, where they're going, where they think they have gaps. In the past, that would seem so proprietary. Why would I gather all these people outside of my company and tell them where I think my potential weaknesses or gaps are? But I think in today's day and age, that's exactly where you need to go. To be able to say, I need you as my core partners to bring this talent or services to bear and help us to bridge this gap in the future and help us to be more successful. And I just think that that's an evolution of the industry over time. I think that there was a time, and there are still managers that are, here, I'll just give you a requirement, you give me back talent, that's it, right? It's very transactional. I
Right.
think the more consultative you can be, that better that relationship, the more the client gets out of it, and the more that we get out of it as a partner. And that's why we double down on those relationships, where we have face-to-face relationships with the client, the ability to help them create new solutions. That's so from an evolution perspective, I hope that answered the question.
It does. It does. What's challenging about leading a boutique IT staffing firm?
Well, I do think that the challenge is that we all compete. And when someone asks me, who are your competitors, because we do IT services and talent, I said, well, there's multiple groups. So we just did this from a marketing perspective. We did battle cards, right? So who do we compete with? And we have multiple services. We have managed services and solutions, right? We do talent services or staff augmentation. We will do direct hire, etc. So when we label those large IT services, do we compete with Slalom? Absolutely. Deloitte, Randstad Digital, Acodis, etc. We absolutely do. Someone would say, really? They're billions and billions in revenue. That's absolutely right. Now, the company may not be coming to us for outsourcing 1,000 people in India. Doesn't mean that we couldn't put together some type of solution for that. But if you've got TCS that's at 645,000 engineers on a bench, those are very different. But we do compete with them. We have a company where they will consider our candidates at the same side with Cognizant and TCS, etc. So we compete with them. We'll also would say we compete with those like firms, right? These mid-size kind of, 50 to 500 million revenue type size firms that offer similar services. And in the same way, we will from time to time compete with an individual firm that just put up a shingle, right? Left their organization and they're out there providing talent as well. So I do think when you look at those 3 different sets of different competitors, it's amazing because it's so wide. So you really have to think about it in terms of what's my customer really looking for, what value are they looking for me, And it is important to know who else do they consider your competitors to understand how you position that solution for them.
That's interesting. Thank you for that. I call it the great gross margin squeeze. How are you navigating that?
Yeah. The well, I think it's value. I think that's it. You know, I could give you the simple analogy is, but I won't name the names, but you know, look at large systems integrators. You can pick a number of them,
Right.
and find what their average cost is or average rate that they would bill a customer for a senior developer. It could be in the 160 to $250 an hour range. I would go to some of those same firms, us or an Apex or Tech Systems or Kforce, and we can deliver some of the same skill sets, same exact profile, but more just-in-time talent, probably between $100 and $150 an hour. So from a margin perspective, right, I think we get CIOs that are very smart about this, and they see that, hey, I may need to pay large systems integrators or maybe more strategic firms such as, you know, maybe I am using McKinsey or, you know, BCG, et cetera, on the strategy. But then when it comes to executing, do I really have to pay $200 an hour when I have someone that can deliver the same talent at 125? Let's try to get that in. So I think people are aware of what the margin is, and also when you start to look at some of those publicly traded firms, you can see where the margin is, right? It's out there for everyone to see in their financials. So you're able to see this is what it costs to carry a bench. This is why your costs are relatively higher. If you believe the services and value you get for that are worth it, then I see why you're paying for that. If we can provide similar talent in what I would say is more of that hybrid model, which may be a small bench but much more contingent just-in-time labor, a lot of clients see value in that, of getting the same level of talent but for a cost that's different. And I think then also you start to see, can you bundle those together? Can I do groups, right? Can I get more economies of scale to offer the customer the right solution so it's not just onesie twosie, so that your margin, you're able to manage and protect that margin. So, but there are, I mean, you're also talking about there are large procurement organizations and some of the biggest buyers that are going to be managed on how much they can bring total cost down. So they are going to manage that through MSPs, et cetera. And, you know, what's my volume discount? What's my, you know, rate that I can get back from this? And at that point too, right, you've got to understand where can you add value so that you can go and do that for the customer.
Okay. How is Red Oak thinking about AI?
Well, I think
And
it's one of the things that we talk with customers about, if not daily, right? It seems like all of the time. It's not only I think the benefit of working with multiple customers across some different industries is seeing how they use them, not trying to share proprietary information, but seeing how they're setting up, whether it's development, whether it's some of the automation that they're leveraging, and being able to share that in discovery meetings with other customers of, we've seen firms do this, right? Do you have to set up your own large language model? Probably not. You can piggyback and use something else, right? You can do these things. So part of it is we're also, I mean, we have a one-sheeter around AI tools that we look for, AI skills that we want our people to come to bear, so that as we're looking for them, they may not even be thinking, oh, wait, what is the best tool that you've used for DevOps? Okay, these are the 4 or 5 things that we look for to make sure that our people are using the best AI tools so they can deliver for you. So from an AI perspective, I think, you know, we're trying to be just in front of it as much as everybody else, is really looking at where our talent is delivering the best result for the customer, packaging that up, and then sharing that result back with the customer to say, how can we help you do more?
okay. So how do you measure success? Is it, when you're looking at different AI tools, some of it is obviously ROI.
Yep.
So can you talk a little about that? Like
Yeah,
what
I
are
mean,
you
I think
looking at?
it's speed of the project, right? It's, you know, I mean, what do our customers want? They want quality people in a timely fashion, fair market value, but they also want to get their projects completed in a timely fashion, maybe early and under budget, right? They want to do all of those
Sure,
things.
sure.
So I think for us, it is co-creating that with the client, sitting
Right.
down and asking that same question: how do you define success as we look at this project? Because if we define success separately of our person completing the project is them being there for 9 months and then we're done, that's success, versus making sure we define it with the customer up front. What does the customer define as success? That's where our approach has to be customized. It cannot just be, oh, we delivered on a project and completed the milestones and we did a knowledge transfer with the customer at the end of it. We feel really good. It needs to come from the customer, have a two-way feedback there.
What do you see as the biggest risk or conception about AI and staffing? Is there something the industry is doing wrong, or
Gosh,
or not really?
I don't think wrong. I think that if I look at just staffing, right, not services, not that, I would say that, I mean, just try to count the number of vendors that are providing AI tools.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of time being spent on evaluating, testing, piloting. And to your point about ROI, I think it's getting more difficult to define whether they're successful or not.
Right.
Again, this will date me, but starting in the industry in the fall of '97, so 28 years ago, I used the comment of I was working as a recruiter at the time, and I was told we need to have 10 candidates, make 4 submittals a week, 10 submittals a week, hopefully have 4 interviews a week in one placement. When you switched into the sales side, it was very similar, right? Try to meet with 10 different clients, try to identify 4 new opportunities, right? Whether solutions or services based or staff aug, and try to close one deal on a weekly basis. I would tell you in 2025, if I had people that did that on both sides, I'd be very, very happy. But in 2025, we're paying for tools we did not pay for in 1997. So our OpEx is very different than what it was in 1997. We didn't have any job boards at the time. You didn't have automation. You didn't have LinkedIn. You didn't actually probably have an ATS. You probably had a DOS prompt system, right? So you didn't have to pay for Zoom Info or some of the Sales Navigator on LinkedIn to get a hold of customers. You certainly weren't doing account-based marketing, and paying for HubSpot and all the other things that you do in our business. So, I look at the AI tools and say, this is great, but when do you stop? And how much do you want to do? Because there is a concept of, well, it's just going to be Uberized. And certainly there are doomsday folks that would say, well, it's going to be, just like Waymo, right? But let's say Waymo for jobs, right? I just go to the app and I select it. I think there's a lot of tools that will make us more efficient at what we do. So probably very similar to 1999 and 2000. So I think Wall Street had a vision at that point that the staffing industry would be disintermediated by Career Builder and Monster and these job boards, right? It didn't happen. What happened was the staffing industry became the biggest user of what was supposed to disintermediate them. Why? Because what they were providing to B2B, right, or B2C. So I'm a customer in Comcast and I put positions out there on Monster. The candidates come straight to you. Well, they were flooded. Right? I don't think it's all that different in LinkedIn today. Think about Easy Apply and people like that. Now you have AI and you have AI recruiters that are scanning and identifying talent. Are they really going to make the decisions for the customer on who they have to hire? And is that what the candidate's going to look for? Is I would like to hire based off of this app telling me you should go work for this job over here or this company over here? I think that most of the clients we've worked with said, hey, the reason I'm engaging you is I need you to cut out all the noise. I have candidates coming from every different area, internal, external. I've got these, individuals that are coming to me in marketing. I need someone to bring me 2 or 3 top people that you will vet, that that they're real, right? There's no fake candidates, right? Their testing's done. You've proctored them on test and that they're there. They don't just have it on a resume. You've seen them do the work in Python and you believe that they can do it for me because you know what I need. I believe at the end of the day that continues to win out over an agentic recruiter, AI recruiter that's calling everybody through a database because they applied. That may help you sort 10,000 candidates faster than you could in the past, but at the end of the day I still think there's going to be people that provide the talent to the customer.
Fair. Yeah, very quickly, Red Oaks. Where is it heading?
Red Oak
What is its
Technologies, I think that
strategic vision?
yeah, strategic vision is, I think continued growth. We put ourselves in, the top 2% of, I think there's, if you look at the numbers, right, SIA or ASA, et cetera, I think they say, 98% of the firms in this industry are under 50 million in revenue. So we put ourselves in the top 2% in terms of where we are, where we're going, and it's not just a revenue grab, but I think for us, it's continuing to scale and grow and add value to our customers, and that's fine, right? I mean, growth is good. Growth is good. You know, it's not a Gordon Gekko thing in terms of greed as much as it is we like our people to experience new things, and as we grow, they have new opportunities for us. So I think for us, it's continued push in terms of additional services we can provide.
Right.
Adding those, I think, continue to be very good at and saying, here's what we're really good at, right? So when I talk about DevOps and tech project management and UI UX and these things that we can deliver, I have case studies to back it up. I have customers that have references. So that's where we're heading, is to continue the specialization, but also advance additional services that our customers are leveraging and are referenceable.
Okay. In the same vein, where do you think the industry is headed?
You know, I think a lot of people would say, and I spent some time in the M&A world as well, that there's got to have to be some consolidation, right? We
Yeah.
saw it significantly in a financial crisis, '08 to 10. We saw a little bit more here kind of recently. I think there's a lot of firms sitting on the sideline waiting for their revenue growth and their CAGR, right, their compounded annual growth rate to improve. And then they may actually see somewhat of a transition or a transaction down the road. So I do think that there'd be some more consolidation on that. I continue to see, and I led a group, a global firm forum last year for Tech Serve Alliance, and we had some of the largest firms globally in there, and we were talking about the shift from staff augmentation to services and what those customers are looking. I think that's continue to be a shift. I think, you know, the age-old blend from Accenture to, you know, a large staffing firm is going to look less and less different over time. There's going to be a lot more homogeneous views of what they can deliver from an IT services perspective. That's what I expect to see.
Commoditization. You don't, so you're not one of those doomsdays, oh, it's over for the industry.
I
What would you
don't,
say?
right? I mean, I think it's very hard to. I think because I still see the talent winning, and I still see the relationships winning. Is that I do think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that there's an opportunity. I think we use history as a good predictor for the future. You know, you've been in a lot of places where you've heard it, right? Is direct sourcing is going to totally change the industry, right? The
Right.
ability for a client to build a talent pool and just then source this talent pool directly for any open that they have is going to completely disintermediate the industry.
Right.
One, it hasn't. There are some commodity skill sets that it is filling, and probably it's filling a great need because we still have a gap in talent. We still don't have enough talent to fill some of the roles that we have. So we need direct sourcing. We've also seen some firms now shift towards building talent pools for customers. Okay, these are firms that didn't exist 10 years ago in that way, and now they've had a service offering that I would still say is talent led, and they're building talent pools for large firms. Okay, so that could be a shift, but the direct sourcing hasn't completely taken away staff augmentation. It hasn't commoditized it to a point where firms don't want to get involved, which is also why I think the services, you know, when you look at what the U.S. staffing industry is, somewhere in $200 billion industry, right? In the U.S., I don't think I have most recent numbers. You know, services is in the trillions, right? So
Yes.
when you start to look at that, I don't see, if staff augmentation is shrinking, the opportunity to grow is by moving into additional services that is a larger market opportunity than where we're at today.
That's awesome. If I had to ask one piece of advice that you would give your peers and others in the ecosystem, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people always say, you know, be curious, right?
Yes.
We love the Ted Lasso piece around that. I think that, you know, continue to learn in this environment, but at the same point too, there's a reason we got here. You know, executing on what we have and what we know is still, I think, a very solid approach in terms of it, and it's all based on the foundation of having relationships. So if you're building client relationships and you're actually at the table with them discussing where their gaps are and how they move in the future, my advice is continue to double down on that. You know, I try to spend as much time as I can in front of a customer if possible to really hear what's going on with them, what their challenges are, and how we can be a better partner. And I think anytime you have the opportunity to be introspective like that and say, hey, it's great that we've done a good job for you on this project. How can we improve? What can we do better? Is there anything you're seeing from other partners that you'd like to see, or things you aren't seeing that you'd like to see? So, my advice in that is just continue to be in front of the customer. I think that's the best voice of reason in terms of where things are going in the market. Because I think we can sit down and look at our own spreadsheets and look at our own data and everything we have from a BI perspective and make assumptions of where things are. But until you're in front of the customer and you hear it from them, I think that validates why we're doing what we're doing.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I know you're very busy, so I really appreciate the time and the insights. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you for having me.